Nancy Pelosi defying the progressives, saying in a letter to colleagues, quote, "In order to get the resources to the children fastest, we will reluctantly pass the Senate bill." This as 2020 Democrats Buttigieg, Castro, Gillibrand, Harris, Hickenlooper, and Williamson toured an immigrant facility for illegal immigrants earlier today. Let's bring in Texas Congressman Brian Babin. Great to have you on, sir. Here's a question for you. Why didn't the Democrats visit these facilities last year or under Obama?
It's not because they weren't asked. I've been down to the border 4 times, Liz, since December. And quite frankly, every time it was all Republicans. And I know some of the Democrats were invited. And of course, during that time, we kept hearing that they would say this is a manufactured crisis. This is not really happening. And now their own constituents, public opinion is turning on this thing. I think the average American knows that we can no longer sustain 100,000 plus every month coming in illegally. We spent I think 260 in excess of 260 million on health care alone with ICE. And I believe that was from last year. But we can no longer continue to take these kinds of numbers in to educate, medicate, and sometimes to incarcerate these people. We just can't seem to do that. The president is using every tool at his disposal, but we have to have interior enforcement and start deporting the ones who have already got orders for removal. Okay. And this is where the Democrats are pushing back.
Who said this? Quote, "Do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll be sent back." It wasn't President Trump. Watch this.
Our message absolutely is don't send your children unaccompanied on trains or through a bunch of smugglers. That is our direct message to the families in Central America. Do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll get sent back.
And, sir, in that same year, 2014, when President Obama said that, remember he held a nationwide televised address in the Rose Garden. He's saying yes to immigration reform. That year, he said, we must stop the flow of illegals, speed deportations, that illegals break the law and must be held accountable.
Exactly. The hypocrisy we're seeing. I don't remember the Democrats calling him, comparing President Obama to Hitler and saying that he was locking kids in cages. In fact, all of these so-called cages and this infrastructure down there was all put in place by previous administrations, including President Obama. And yet they demonized President Trump for trying to do his job and follow the law. I would ask a question. If we cannot deport those illegal people who have come into this nation, who have already had their hearings adjudicated and already have orders for deportation, if we can't deport those people, we can't deport anyone. And if we don't start deporting those who are already on and have the orders to be removed, then we're never going to stop or slow down the influx of these people that are coming out. 144,000 last month.
It's about the incentives, what's bringing people here, and we're a humanitarian, compassionate nation. We do help the poor as best as we can. America is about that. But, and also, there's something like $18.5 billion a year that's already spent by American taxpayers on illegal health care. That comes out of analysis out of Duke University. But when asked at the debate who supports giving health care coverage to illegals, look at the hands that went up. Watch.
I know it.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
This might be the moment the Democrats jumped the shark, because many of these same Democrats said no to that when they supported Obamacare. We're talking Bernie Sanders, Kirsten Gillibrand, Elizabeth Warren. Obamacare does not provide illegals coverage. And in the 2013 immigration reform bill, same thing. Your take on that, sir?
My take is that the Democrat Party has gone so far to the left. They're trying to outdo one another and giving away the American taxpayers' money. If they would only treat the American taxpayers, the American citizens, as well as they treat illegal people who are here illegally, many of whom are criminals, being shielded in sanctuary cities. And I think the American people see through this, and I think they're going to pay. I think the Democrats are going to pay a big, big price for this in 2020.